Hey, it's Matt Moscona. You found it. It's AFR Saints, your home for daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Please subscribe, smash the like button, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And our content this football season is presented by BetUS. Score a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. Enjoy the video. Who dat?
Excited about the opportunity to go there and play those guys. They got a good football team. They're playing exceptionally well. They could easily be 3-0 with the way that they played. They've played some really good teams, so it's going to be a tough challenge. I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere to go play a game in, and we're excited about the opportunity.
All right, Dennis Allen getting the Saints ready to head over to the ATL. A couple teams that lost last week. Need of a win, a division win as well. Let's find out more about the Dirty Birds. Mark Zinno joins us. Of course, you hear him nationally on ESPN Radio. 92.9 The Game there in Atlanta. All around great dude. We appreciate the time whenever we can get it. Zinno, what's up, man?
What's going on? Hey, I know you're supposed to ask the questions here, but I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
Is Clint Kubiak going to save Dennis Allen's job for another year?
Well,
what you going to have to do with Dennis Allen for another year? I'd be pissed at that if I was a Saints fan.
So,
I'd be literally upset.
So, Zinno, here's like a legit conversation that happened after the first 2 weeks here. Like this will illustrate the psyche of the Saints fan. We all watched that offense the first 2 weeks and went, what if Kubiak gets a head coaching job, leaves, the offense goes back to crap, and we're stuck with Dennis Allen? Like that was the conversation after 2 weeks. Like people were legit asking, could they promote Kubiak to head coach and demote Dennis Allen to defensive coordinator? I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. But those are legit conversations people are having, like fans are having here about this team.
But I get the stupidity of that thought process, and part of it makes me chuckle. But nonetheless, that would be the first time in the history of coaching where you would do that sort of promotion-demotion deal.
Yeah, I mean, we all know, obviously, it'll never happen. But it is a weird it is this weird juxtaposition right now of what the Saints were, what they are, and what they could potentially be. But they really need a win this week, man. Let me actually start on with a similar issue the Saints have that the Falcons have as well. Drew Dahlman, the starting center, went to IR. Walk me through how big of a deal that is for the Falcons.
It's notable. It's not a death knell for this offensive line. They have a lot of depth at that position. So I'm not too concerned about it from the standpoint of the scheme should still be what it is. There's still going to be a very good, power running team with Bijan and Tyler Algier. And I think that more than anything, what it comes down to is really, how quickly can he pick up all the blocking assignments and the calls and at the line and things of that nature, the protection calls. But I don't have too much concern about it. Not only that, Caleb McGarry was also here in practice today, their right tackle, but he's got turnstile tendencies, which sounds like a great album for a rock band, but it's not a good moniker for an offensive lineman. So nonetheless, there are some questions on the offensive line, but I got to tell you, look, I mean, I actually feel really good about the Falcons after 3 weeks. Like, a lot of people don't. I do. Look, you went into this knowing that 0-3 was a realistic possibility and that 1-2 is the most likely scenario. And I told everybody before the season started, if you're only going to win one game in the first three, win the NFC game against the Eagles, because that will matter down the road for a tiebreaker. Everything broke the way it was supposed to. Or Dennis Allen said they should be 3-0. No, I mean, look, it all comes out in the wash, right? Because Nick Sirianni is an idiot and gifted the Falcons a win. The officials gifted one back to Kansas City last week, so it all comes out in the wash. But I think 1-2 is fine where they are. Their real season starts now. They got 3 division games in the next 4 weeks, and this will really decide positioning for the middle part of October into November.
We'll get right back to the video. Got to share a little secret with you. As soon as Eric McCoy went down on the third play against Philly, I live bet the Eagles plus 3.5. Old betting angle that I love. Team loses its starting center. They fail to cover 80% of the time. Of course, the Eagles ended up winning the game. Maybe made the loss not sting quite as much. But remember, Falcons this week have lost their starting center. So how about you maybe make a little wager with me on the New Orleans Saints? You can do it at BetUS, our great partner here. They got a great special for you right now. You get a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next two deposits up to $2,000. It's when you use the promo code 150. So let me show you how easy this is. You go to BetUS. We're going to hit the football drop down right there. We're going to pick the NFL odds for week 4. As soon as they load, look, there it is. The noon games on Sunday. Saints, Falcons. Saints are getting a point. I actually think they're going to win this game outright. Plus 105. So let's take the Saints to win it. Here we go. We'll come over and we'll place our wager. Bet $25. We'll place the bet. It's going to ask me to confirm. There it is. And just like that, we are all locked in with the Saints on the money line to beat the Falcons in Atlanta on Sunday. You could do it that easily at BetUS. Remember, you get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits, up to $2,000. Why wouldn't you take advantage of this? It's when you use the promo code YouTube150. Now, enjoy the rest of the video. Yeah, I mean, look, the Falcons are a breath away from being 2-1, but they're also a blink away from being 0-3 right now. I mean, if Saquon catches the ball, I mean, it's the NFL. You're right. Those things tend to even out as the season goes along. Give me a perspective on Cousins through 3 weeks, especially since, man, the debut against the Steelers, 10 points. It looks so clunky. Just give me a thought through 3 weeks on Cousins.
It did look clunky. And I don't know why, whether it was scheme or not, but, like, Zach Robinson, the OC, the guy who came from the Rams, the guy who's been running the Shanahan system, the McVay system, the one system that everybody's in love with nowadays, because you can't play football unless you play with Kyle Shanahan. So beyond that, but he had him in shotgun way too much. Like 80% of the run plays were all coming out of shotgun in that week. And I don't know if that was by design because it was against the Steelers. Some people speculated it was because of Kirk's, heel, Achilles, whatever it is. Guys, Kirk's heel is fine. Like, he's able to drop back on it. He's able to push off on it. He's able to throw, which drives me insane that they didn't call a quarterback sneak against the Chiefs on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 because it's just derelict coaching. And I shot at Raheem Morris for that all on Monday press conference. But I digress. I think once they got away from that and got into more of the play action system that they're used to, the motion system that they're used to, you started to see the offense perform a little bit better. The interception last week wasn't Kirk's fault by any stretch of the imagination. He's played well. You're just not seeing the eye-popping numbers that you saw in Minnesota. And some of that is because, again, you got really dynamic running backs and you got a good run game here. And putting the hands and the ball of Bijan Robinson in the run game is probably more critical to offensive success than throwing the ball down the field a lot. But you saw what they're capable of, the deep strike to Kyle Pitts, the ability to get the ball to Drake London. I mean, all this stuff is here. And you got to remember, the version of the offense you are in week 3, you got to be a different version of that offense in week 10, week 14, right? I mean, I say everybody keeps, just as an aside, everybody keeps asking about the Jets. Like, guys, the Jets are going to get better offensively. Like, slow your roll. It's 3 weeks. You're not winning the Super Bowl. We're making the playoff 3 weeks in. So just pump the brakes a little bit on what you are. Survive and stack a couple of wins if you can, and be ready to start playing football when you're a better version of yourself in October and November.
He's on Twitter at Mark Zinno. Y'all give him a follow. So much of Atlanta has been, they have stacked draft resources and capital on the offensive side. Like you mentioned Pitts and London and Bijan. Like, we all know that. It feels like the question has consistently been defensively. Look, Raheem Morris comes in. We know he's a defensive guy. Like, what do they look like through 3 weeks?
They don't look terrible. On the back end, they're really good. Their safeties are really good. Obviously, Jesse Bates is an all-pro. Justin Simmons is there. He got the pick last week against Mahomes. I think that they're okay. They're still not winning at pass rush rate. Like, that's a problem. It's one thing. Everybody in Atlanta is focused on sacks because, Atlanta stinks at sacking the quarterback. It's just been the way they've been for the last, decade. So, everybody gets hung up on that number, but the pass rush win rate is not there for this team up front. And it needs to start to get better because, as you can start to see, if you give any average quarterback time, even as bad as Justin Fields was or, anybody else, that you're going to have some problems. So for Derek Carr, if they're not putting pressure on him this week, and Carr's got the ability, especially what we saw from the big playability and the deep strike ability the first 2 weeks, the Saints resurrect that against the Falcons in the pass game, and no one is getting to Derek Carr, guess what? It could be a long day for the Falcons defense.
It's interesting, Zinno, the pressure against Carr didn't come from the edge, though. It came from right at the chute. After Eric McCoy went out, the interior pressure is what really busted the Saints' offense. What do you think about the Falcons' ability to push the pocket on the inside?
Well, that guy Grady Jarrett's pretty good last time I checked. So, I mean, really, if he's the guy who's creating havoc, and Grady his entire career has been great at that. He's not, obviously, he's a defensive tackle. He's not going to be racking up sacks, but he's always great at disrupting things, and he should draw a double team. He should draw a lot of focus. And in theory, that should open up stuff for David Onyemata and other guys on the line, and maybe some of the edge rushers to get through as you have to roll protection to pick up Grady. But if you let Grady one-on-one, he's going to beat most guys in this league. He's still a top 5 D tackle in this league, despite the injury and everything he's coming off of. But he's only going to get better week in and week out. And look, this is a team that he knows, right? I mean, he's played against the Saints plenty. So I would look at him as priority number 1 if I was the Saints offensive line coach, that don't let 97 beat you. Because if he does, it's going to be a long day for the Saints.
Mark Zinno's with us. A couple more minutes. 92.9 The Game there in Atlanta. You hear him nationally on ESPN Radio. We're taking a close look here at the Falcons. Give me a matchup to watch, Zinno, on Sunday, something you think might tilt the field one way or another for the Saints or the Falcons.
I mean, look, Kyle Pitts is probably the most enigmatic figure in Atlanta in a while, right? Like, what an awful draft pick that was at 4 overall. He's not an awful player. It's an awful draft pick because you don't take tight ends at 4. It's just stupid. And the Falcons are reminding everybody that they were stupid for doing it. Doesn't make Pitts a bad player. However, you're starting to see them scheme him open a little bit more in certain spots. And as you start to key on Bijan, and as you start to key on Drake, even throwing out Mooney, had a big game last week in various different ways in the pass game, you've got to figure out a way that Pitts has to be covered. And most guys in the secondary can't cover him straight up. I mean, yes, it's a telltale when he's on a run block. You want to know why? Because that, quote, unicorn stinks at run blocking. So, he's just not a blocker. So he's there to catch a ball. It's just a question of can they scheme him open. They hit him on a 50-yard strike last week, and that's a good Chiefs pass defense. So there'll be a play that is schemed up for Kyle Pitts. And as he gets more comfortable, Kirk Cousins' use of the tight ends when he did with T.J. Hawkinson in Minnesota was well documented. It's going to start to get greater and greater each week. I think they're going to start to push him more a little each week. And if he's the guy that the Saints choose to put single coverage on, more often than not, Pitts is going to be a tough guy to cover.
Mark Zinno, hey, before you go, Zinno also does a lot of betting analysis, betting content as well. Give me a play that you like on this game. Side, total, prop, anything like that?
I mean, look, I usually come on this station, and I know your loyal audience loves to watch me take a dump on the Falcons, but I'm taking the Falcons this week. Like I am. I think they're winning the game. I hate to tell you, look, I do believe your offensive start was a little fugazi. I think you played the Panthers, who are a mess, and I think the Cowboys is more of an indictment of how bad they are or how lost their defense is without Dan Quinn and the scheme and everything else. So I think the Falcons get a big win here. I genuinely do. At a field goal game. Now, I think the Saints are a great teaser option if you could find somebody to pair them with, like maybe Philadelphia, who's getting 2 points, I'm sorry, Tampa Bay, who's getting 2 points rather. I think the Saints are a great teaser option because the Falcons aren't going to beat the Saints by margin. But then winning this game by a field goal or 2 points, yeah, absolutely. I think they can do that. I mean, I genuinely like the Falcons this week in this matchup against the Saints to win the game.
He's Mark Zinno, 92.9 The Game there in Atlanta. You hear him on ESPN Radio National as well. You hear his voice on these airwaves from time to time. Mark, we appreciate it as always, man. Thanks, Zinno. We'll talk soon.
Love you, thank you.
Thanks so much for watching the video. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, hit the bell so you're notified when we post a new video, and remember to support BetUS, where right now you can get a 150% bonus on your first deposit and a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Be sure to use that promo code YouTube150.